Thank you everyone for tuning in. I was told that this was going to be predominantly an all women's group. My session today also is going to be a little more focused towards women. But of course, men are still welcome. You can share the knowledge with your other female friends and family. Before I start, I'm sure most of you must be wondering, why did I choose this particular topic? The topic is, do we women have the power to change the world with simple choices? So there is a small story behind this topic. I have a YouTube channel by the name Dee's Planet, like what Rajiv just mentioned. As a YouTuber, there is a lot of analytics which YouTube gives its content creators. So we have analytics like the geography of the viewers, and how long the viewers have been viewing our videos and so on. So there's one interesting analytic that I found that was about the gender of my viewers. And I was quite surprised when I got to know that there are around 93% of women who watch my videos. So only about 7% men are actually interested in probably watching videos like the way I make. So I make videos on sustainable living. I give them tips and small ways on how you can adopt sustainable changes to your existing lifestyle. So that was the first point, which really got me thinking. So I started digging further. I went to my Instagram handle, and I started looking through all the social media influencers whom I follow, the influencers from sustainable living, in that domain. And that's when I got to know that 99% of these influencers are females. Okay. And the final icing on the cake was when a very dear friend of mine forwarded me an article which had which was published in The Guardian, which spoke about something called as the eco-gender gap. So the article basically mentioned that most of these eco-friendly products are being marketed towards women. That is because there are more women who are interested in buying such products, and they have further gone ahead and done some research and found out that that's because women naturally don't just care about their families and their loved ones. They are also naturally very much concerned about what is happening to the environment and how we can make this world a better place. So after these three things, I finally concluded that yes, without trying to sound like a complete feminist, but I think I have made my point clear here, but I was quite convinced that if it is anyone who can change the world, it is us women. So that's the story behind this topic. So in today's session, this session is going to be slightly different. I am not going to use any PowerPoint presentation. I just am going to talk. It's going to be more like a conversation. And I will be presenting 3 sustainable and simple choices that we as women can adopt. Okay, so before I dive into those choices, let me first briefly talk about what sustainable living actually means. So I don't want to get into definitions, but for me, sustainable living is a lifestyle which is in sync with nature, choosing to use products which do not harm our environment and which do not impact our environment in an adverse way. That is sustainable lifestyle for me. So I know that a lot of, in present times, we keep hearing this term a lot, and especially if you check out your social media, sustainable living is everywhere. So we tend to feel that sustainable living is a foreign term, but that's not so. In fact, we Indians have always been living sustainably. So you can go back 2 generations, look at the lifestyle that your grandparents lived. and maybe their parents, they've always lived sustainably. They've always lived in sync with nature. So for me, when I say sustainable living now, it's about trying to mimic some good practices from that generation and try to fit them into present modern times. Okay, so the first choice that I want to, now that I've made my, I've explained what is sustainable living, let me present the first choice that we as women have. So this is, before I present the choice, let me present some statistics. Okay, so on an average, a woman menstruates for approximately 35 years. Each woman generates about 150 kgs of menstrual waste in her entire lifetime. That's those 35 years. And unfortunately, a country like ours still does not have the correct mechanism to deal with all this sanitary menstrual waste. So almost 95 to 99% of it ends up in a landfill. And I'm talking even though it may be collected from your municipality and it may be collected from your panchayat, there are very high chances that they may still end up in a landfill. Landfills are those mountains of trash that you may see outside your cities. The best example of a landfill, if I can give you, is Sonsoda in Margao. So landfills are the things which are rejected at a waste collection center are the ones which actually end up in a landfill. So why does this happen? This happens because a sanitary pad, a disposable sanitary pad, is made up of almost 90% plastic, and then there are these bodily fluids which get mixed in it. So it's literally impossible. I don't think we have the technology right now to actually recycle a used sanitary pad. So the only way to dispose it right now is either to incinerate it, that means to burn it at a high temperature, or to dispose it in a landfill, or let it rot there. And unfortunately, because it's plastic, it's going to take 500 to 800 years to decompose. Now, even if these are the facts about disposable sanitary pads. Now, let's say for a minute, you just choose to ignore the impact of using a disposable sanitary pad on the environment. Okay, let's keep that aside for a minute. But there is another side to it, which is something you can't just ignore, and that is the health implications of using a disposable sanitary pad. Pick any of your sanitary pad manufacturers, Whisper, always, I think, Carefree. I know there are lots of brands. Pick anyone, flip the cover, and try to find out if you can see what exactly goes inside making of your sanitary pad. I bet you will not find even one manufacturer which actually discloses what are the chemicals or what are the materials they are using. They all say organic, this and that, but I mean, as far as I know, if you try to burn it, it still burns like plastic. So in my knowledge and of the research that I have done over the internet, I have found that almost 90% of it's plastic. And what really worries me is that there is a chemical called as dioxin, which is found to be present in a lot of sanitary pads. And though the manufacturers claim that dioxin is not so harmful, or there is no proper research which says what is the effect of long-term exposure to dioxin and stuff like that, but dioxin is known to be cancerous, and it's known to cause infertility and a lot of other hormonal issues. So we can't completely ignore that. So even if you were to ignore the implications of, the environmental harm that it causes, it's still not as good for you as it's marketed to look. So my first choice for women is the sustainable choice is making use of reusable products. And in my case, I would, since I have personally used and loved them, I would say making use of reusable menstrual cloth pad. Now, this is a menstrual cloth pad. It's a reusable cloth pad. It looks just like your disposable pad, only difference being that this is going to be reused. It's made of cloth. So you're going to be washing it, drying it, and then reusing it. So one pad lasts you for 3+ years. So it is cost effective if you look at the long-term effects of it. And the best part is that it generates no waste because it's made of cloth. I know that at the end of it, this will still tear up and it will generate a little bit waste, but still it's much lesser than the waste that you create every month. And it's cost effective because you don't have to go and keep buying a new stock of pads every now and then. Again, they come in all different sizes. You have small, medium, large, XL, and all that, just like your normal pads. Personally, I have switched to using cloth pads since around 1.8 years, and I couldn't have been happier. There are no rashes. It's very comfortable because the feeling of a cloth is so much better. So I think for me, the best way that I could deal with this entire problem was just making a simple choice like a cloth pad. Okay. The second point which I want to talk about is about fashion. Now, for women, fashion industry is directly, I think it runs only because of we women. You know, all of us love wearing good clothes and, you know, love dressing up. No harm in that. But let me present some facts here. Did you know fashion industry is the second largest polluting industry in the world today? When I heard this, I was also pretty much shocked and I didn't believe it. And I started digging up, and that's when I got to know that the fashion industry is so polluting because it takes around 2,700 liters of water to just make one simple t-shirt. It takes around 10,000 liters of water to make one pair of jeans. So basically, fashion industry is an industry where we are told, the trends keep changing faster than seasons. You'll keep getting those messages if you sign up on your favorite websites, favorite portals like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra. You'll keep getting those messages about end of season sale, 70% off, 50% off. They just want to grab our eyeballs so that we are constantly buying new clothes. And we are constantly buying, I'm not just talking about clothes, accessories, shoes, all of that. But have we ever paused for a minute and wonder what really happens to all those clothes that we just discard? At one point, your wardrobes are going to be filled and there will be no more space left for you to fill in more clothes. So you will have to start discarding, right? So you keep on buying, you also at the same time discard. But what is the impact of all of that on the environment? It's time right now to actually stop and think about that. So, basically I have put down, I don't know whether you all can read this. Yeah. So I don't know, I have put down some choices in terms of fashion that we as women have. My first point is buy less, choose well, and make it last. The next time you get that message about, a sale coming up, you stop for a minute and ask yourself whether you really need another pair of jeans or another pair of t-shirt, or is there something already in your wardrobe which is good enough? Do you really need extra stuff? Okay. The second is choose well. Instead of going for some cheap, something just because it's cheap, because something is in sale, because it may not be of the best quality. So instead of picking something like that, see if you can invest in good quality clothes, shoes, accessories, so that they can last you longer, so that they are in circulation for longer, and so that they don't end up in your trash bin that soon. And the last point is make it last. I think our generation has completely forgotten how to use the needle and the thread or the sewing machine. If you see our parents' generation, they would actually mend their clothes. A small tear here or there. I'm not saying wear torn clothes and roam around. I'm not talking about that. But a small thing here and there can still be fixed. So it's time now to really implement this: buy less, choose well, and make it last. Um, the second point, which I would like to really focus on, is buying secondhand. Now, I know I will raise a lot of eyeballs. People have this general inhibition. Why should I wear clothes, which are worn by somebody else? I mean, it's not like I'm poor or something I can't afford. This is not about, it's not so much about the money. It's about, it's about making choices for a bigger good. That is, in this case, to make it better for the environment. So buying second hand is basically buying pre-loved goods. Now, I don't know if you all have seen the article which appeared in Naveen Times just 3 days back. It came in the supplement. They did an entire section on buying second hand, and they have covered a lot of good popular portals which are based in Goa. So I have made a list of all the second-hand stores in Goa here, and all these four: SST Goa, Good Karma, Treasure Shop, Your Little Shop, and Seconds to Go. All these four are very active in Goa. You can buy some amazing second-hand clothes. I have personally participated in a thrift sale which was conducted by SST Goa, and I found some great clothes. And it's not like the general impression that we have, that we'll find someone's worn out clothes. It's not like that. All these basically organizations make sure that they test the products for good quality, and only when their products are, they match their quality standards, are they actually put up for sale. And the best advantage as college students, I think most of you are college students here. As college students, I think this is like a great find. You can find some great popular brands at literally half the price, only because they are in a second-hand shop. And some of them, I personally found a top which was even with a tag on. So it's that good. Okay, so please, at least because I'm mentioning it here, please give this a try. These are all their Insta handles here which I had mentioned. So you please you go ahead, find them on Instagram. They mostly do their sales on Instagram, so you can even buy, you don't have to personally go. They are all available here. And one more mention I'd like to do here is this third one, the Your Little Shop, is actually started by a group of 3 college girls like y'all. So they, while they were in college, they also started this venture because they wanted to do some contribution to the environment. And the next point is borrow, swap from friends and family. Now this is something, if you are not comfortable with buying clothes previously worn by somebody else, at least try to borrow or swap clothes with people whom you already know, from your own friends and family. This is especially true for special occasions. I mean, all of us have those special occasions where we buy these really expensive saris or maybe gowns, and we just wear them like once, and then they are inside the wardrobe for years together. You can't repeat it because the same family has already seen it and blah blah. So best way to actually deal with this is to go and borrow or swap a new sari from your own family. Me and my sister have always been borrowing each other's clothes, and we continue to do so. It helps when you are of the same size. And I have even swapped clothes with my friends who live in a different city. She lives in Bangalore, I live in Goa, but whenever we meet, let's once in 4 or 5 months, we exchange some clothes, and it's worked for us. It's not all that crazy. And finally, to conclude this point, I would like to say, please, please, please say no to fast fashion. We already have caused a lot of damage. So I think it's time now to really stop for a minute and think about what our actions are doing to the environment. So please say no to fast fashion. It's only we as consumers have that power to stop buying. That is when the producers will also stop manufacturing. Yeah. So So the third point, now before I come to the third point, a small thing that I would like to share here. By now, I'm talking a lot about sustainable lifestyle. So many of you may be under the impression that I live a perfectly sustainable life or perfectly sustainable lifestyle. Well, that's not true. I personally I strive a lot to make it really as less, I try to generate as less waste as possible. I try to repurpose things and so on. But I live with a family. I have my husband who is not very sustainable. So he still ends up having his own things, and I have to deal with all the waste that he generates. So basically, when I was preparing for this session, I was trying to think, how can I make this easy for uninitiated folks? Because like the group that I'm talking to right now, some of you may have heard these terms like sustainable lifestyle and all that for the first time. So I wanted to break it down into smaller bits so that, they are more digestive. They can be easily digested rather than you having an indigestion at the end of my session, because that's not my intention. So for my third point and my final point, I have broken this down into 3 simple levels. Okay. The first level is segregate. Now, what is segregate? Segregate for me is separate. Okay. So you need to start segregating your waste at home. It needs to be segregated into dry waste and wet waste. Wet waste is all the waste which you will be generating from your kitchen. So fruit peels, vegetable peels, tea powder, coffee powder, anything which comes from your kitchen is all wet waste. You need to start collecting it in one single location. So in my case, I keep something like this on my kitchen counter, and I collect all my wet waste here. So this is my wet waste from the lunch that we had. And so at the first basic level, if you are a complete novice who doesn't know what to do, at least start with segregation. Just separate. The dry waste can be handed over to your panchayat guy or your municipality collector. Dry waste will be your paper waste, plastic, glass. Actually, it needs to be further separated. But let's consider, to keep it simple, let's assume you collect all your dry waste in one place and wet waste in a single place. This is level 1. Okay, let's assume you don't want to do anything. At least do this. Let's say you are a slightly more initiated person and you want to proceed to the level 2. At level 2, what I would like you to consider is this. This is compost. You can see this. Yeah. So once you have collected all the wet waste here, you dump it in a plastic bin, or you dump it in a terracotta pot, or you keep it in an old dustbin. Drill some holes, throw some dry leaves, and churn it. Wait for around 45 to 60 days. And what you will find is this: a rich organic manure, free manure for all your plants. So if you have any plants, ornamentals or whatever, you can feed this particular compost to your plants. I'm not going into the details of composting because I already have made videos on how to compost, and that's a session for some other day. So if you are interested in composting, please go and check that out. But the second step is compost. And the final step, the third step, is grow. So once you have your compost, compost is basically organic manure or fertilizer for your plants. So use that compost, mix it with some soil, get hold of some pots, and what you can do is grow some vegetables. So I'd like to just show you here. Just give me a sec. Can you see here? This is coriander leaves. This is one of the simplest to grow. You don't even have to have a pot like this. Take some old food container, put coriander seeds from your own kitchen, and this is around 1.5 months. It's not even 1.5 months. This was, I think I put this on 1st September. Today is 12th October, and this is how long they've become. And you can harvest them by just cutting them from the top, and they'll still continue to grow. And if you can see here, this is a dudhi plant. It's a pumpkin. Now I have put lots of pumpkin seeds, which I had saved after the pumpkin was eaten, and now I need to transfer them. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that growing your own food is not as difficult as it may appear, because when I started, I also thought that growing your food is you need to be gifted with a green thumb and all that. That's a myth. I don't think I had a green thumb. I learned, I did not succeed at the first attempt. There have been a lot of times where I've killed a lot of plants, but the point is about at least starting. Okay, so start with seeds. You don't even have to go to the nursery. Start with seeds from your own kitchen, and trust me, the joy of working with soil and getting access to fresh organic vegetables, you will love that experience. There is nothing like that, and it's a great stress buster. It's a great activity that you will love. You will love to be associated with for a long time. So, so this is okay. So this is in conclusion. I would just like to conclude the 3 points that I had started with. The first point was sustainable menstruation. Give it a try, because you will never know whether it works or not until you actually try it. I would suggest, please buy at least one pad. Okay, I think I forgot to show you. These are the names of brands which manufacture cloth pads in India. The first one is Soch and the second is EcoFem. Again, I've mentioned their Instagram IDs, so you can go and look them up. They are available on Amazon, they are available on their own websites, and they are available in some eco stores in Goa as well. So I have personally, the pad which I showed is from the first brand, that is Soch, and I have used EcoFam also. So to conclude, I would say at least buy one pad, buy one cloth pad, try it on your lowest flow day, see how you feel about it. You know, each woman's experience is different. Try it for yourself and then make a choice. Second, about fast fashion, if you cannot refuse, at least try to reduce. If you are somebody who shops 12 times in a year, at least try to reduce that number to like 6 times in a year, because I feel every small step matters here. And the third one, the segregate, compost, and grow. They say you are what you are because of what you eat. So for the highly motivated, please try and grow at least one vegetable of your choice. For those of you who think they still don't have green thumb, you can compost, because you don't need a green thumb for composting. It's finally soil. And if you're not even able to do that, please at least segregate your waste. So, so I would like to conclude this whole session with a favorite quote that I have. The quote goes to say, "We have not inherited this earth from our ancestors, but we have borrowed it from our children." So whatever that you do, always keep this in mind. We need to make sure that we live a beautiful world for our generations to come. So I guess, yeah, that's all.